Hello everyone, Russell Wright from networkempire.com, and today I wanted to talk to you about the case study for website silo architecture because we only have 3 days remaining before we launch the new kickoff of the Tech Foundation 1 training. You can see that we are, as of the time of this video, we have 3 days and 10 hours remaining to kick this off. Now, our Tech Foundation training courses are once a member, always a member, and we do have them anywhere between every 8 weeks to every 2 months, where once we finish one, we will kick off another training session. So you can go ahead and look at the calendar that we have in case you are not able to make the next one. One of the advantages of our Tech Foundation training is that if you miss one of the courses or live certification events, you can just hop back in the next time it comes around. You pay once and you are always a member, and while everything is improving and increasing in its validity and its value over time, we will be able to give you new information and new updates, and you're always a part of our community. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is the new case study created by Matt DeCruz, who is your primary instructor for Tech Foundation 1. Main thing to be aware of is in Tech Foundation 1, we are talking about building, researching, and creating automatically your website silo architecture on your WordPress blog. And this case study is not always obvious on the site, but this is one of the sites that Matt has built, and one of the sites he uses as a demo and teaching site inside Tech Foundation. And this is called Sassy. It's a local site, and it's for hair styling. So we're going to talk about what's in this case study. This is something that you probably want to read. We wanted to make sure that you understood all the immense value of creating a website silo architecture, but also wanted to make sure that you understood that this is not only about technical SEO. This is also about business objectives, what we call business architecture. And I teach you a whole lot personally about what's called website persuasion architecture. So let's just quickly go through what's on this case study. We start with the objective, and then we move into the terms and definitions. In the terms and definitions, we just want to make sure you're clear on what we're talking about and how the point system works in the software you use to measure rankings. Okay, and our rankings are really important here because we're going to show you how website silo architecture can help you rank for up to for thousands of keywords potentially, or dozens depending upon the size of your site, for up to 80 to 90% fewer inbound links than your competition. So we're going to go ahead and give you the terms and definitions here so that you understand what the index score on the software that Matt uses. Now we use a lot of different ranking software at Network Empire. This one I believe is Agent Web Ranker. I'm not 100% sure on that, but you do learn in the course what Matt has chosen to use for his case study, so he clarifies that. We also get into the strategic scenario where Matt is clarifying specifically what has happened in this particular strategic scenario. Remember, every website is different, and every business strategy and business architecture is different. So we're going to go directly into why the website architectural design was chosen the way that it was. We're going to talk a lot about which keywords were chosen. This is actually a screenshot from any silo builder. It's one of our many enterprise level applications. You can actually see how this successful website, which drives huge amounts of traffic around the area of hair and makeup, especially for bridal hair. This was actually done for his spouse, who is a professional hairstylist. And so, of course, it was the business model is fully integrated, and that's very helpful that this is not just some kind of theoretical SEO site that's been set up, that this is actually a website that generates huge amounts of leads and leads to direct revenue and an increase in his own family's business. So again, a great case study in that sense. Okay, and then we move on after we give you the strategic scenario where he talks about the specific market conditions of the wedding, hair, and beauty industry in his country. This is actually a South African website. He gets immediately into the case study overview. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about the research, what happened when he researched particular SEO and competitive environments in his particular area, and he talks a lot about that in this case study. So you'll definitely be able to see the increase of traffic when he makes certain kinds of changes. Okay, so that's all there as well. The test overview, he shows you how he tests. Okay, I think we went over that one. Also the silo architecture. Chapter 5 is really when you start to get into the meat of the Tech Foundation 1 training. And this is really what is SEO silo architecture and how you should implement it on a new website. Okay, you're going to see the changes. And again, all of this is step-by-step, paint by numbers as part of our training system. And you can do a site of any size. This is all about building your money site in an SEO website silo architecture function. One thing that's worth remembering that we like to remind all of our students is one of the reasons that the certification level 1 is required is because if we're going to help you build the one web ring, what we call the socially activated one web ring, perpetual downstream traffic, and domain authority stacking system, you have to start with your ground zero website. This is the primary broadcasting website. The broadcasting website is the site from which all content is syndicated and broadcast downstream. Now, downstream can be anything from one other website to just your social media platforms to potentially thousands of websites and platforms that either you own or you syndicate to. In our advanced training, we teach you how to broadcast to as many sites as you want. A lot of people forget that social media platforms are really not for chatting and talking to your friends and getting lost in the minutia of day-to-day distraction. Social media platforms within our web ring system serve one purpose only. That is to act as domain authority and a layer of authority for your page rank and what we now call your domain authority for your primary broadcasting site. They're only designed as outlets for you to broadcast. And by broadcasting to those other streams, those other locations, so those other platforms, including Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those other locations, you only want to broadcast to those places, and you want to interact with those places as little as possible, unless, of course, it has to do with your top-level business functions. So we need to set you up to properly use the complete power of the broadcasting system that we teach in all of our certification events. You first need to have a site. And that's what this Tech Foundation 1 is designed to teach you how to build a site within a website silo architecture. Now, it's not the end of the world if you don't have an SEO silo structure at ground zero at your broadcasting site, but because your rankings are so much more effective by building a site in this way, and by properly researching your keywords, and by properly integrating all the topics and themes across your entire infrastructure, why not do it properly to begin with? Because you're going to save money in the long term, because your rankings will have up to 80% increased power across dozens or even thousands of keywords depending upon the site size and authority. So this is incredibly important. I want to make sure that everybody knew that before we moved on. So this case study gets into a local version of that. Also, Matt gets a lot into the silo architecture, but he also gets into important secondary effects. And these secondary effects increase your rankings across your keywords as well as encouraging more traffic. Things like your site speed. How fast does your site load? Should you add a content delivery network to your site to increase that site speed? We do know that the speed with which your website loads on the server does affect your rankings on Google. Not hugely, but it's important. It can be a tiebreaker. If you're competing with somebody on, for example, for position 2 or 3, these things are incredibly important, because if your competitor's website is faster and it's sitting on a content delivery network, they might very well outrank you. Okay, so we talk a little bit about things like Max CDN. I use Cloudflare a lot. Matt runs you through testing. And again, these are all part of week, I believe the speed test is part of week 6 or 7, but I have to double check on that. But all of these are covered within the training. Matt also covers in the case study Freebase verify test. He took some information given to him by Kevin Polly. I'm sure you're familiar with Kevin. He runs our semantic web department as authority on semantic markup. Talks about how Matt gives you an exact case study of how adding proper markup affected his rankings. Okay, and that's very, very important. And finally, we have an on-page optimization test where Matt starts revealing how he checked his on-page optimization to increase his ranking and ultimately his conversions. On-page optimization is very, very key and a key component to proper website silo architecture and SEO. And then finally, he gets into the engagement test, which is more of my world. I talked to you a lot about how to properly write headlines of persuasion in this training course. And here's where Matt's actually showing you some heat map tests that he's been doing. You can tell where a visitor goes on your website. You can tell what they look at the most by utilizing a technology called heat map testing, where you can generally see where the eyes are going because where the mouse is going on the page. So if you notice that 80% of your visitors are always going to one part of your page, and never going to the part that's important, such as finding a phone number or a buy button. There's something happening on that page that is probably not attractive or logical to your user. And so we get into some testing on that. So this case study, is really worth taking a look and giving us some feedback on. And of course, when you're ready with the case study and you're clear that you want to proceed with our certification level training, just go ahead and sign up. Now, you do have 3 days to jump in. And again, if you're late, it's not the end of the world. You can join other webinar mastermind trainings. Also, be advised when you come in, there's 8 other live certification training events that have gone on before this, and you will always have access to the previous events and always have access to the future events. And because of this, you have a lot of archived material that you can go through with great documentation and great step-by-steps. And as each training course comes out, it gets better and better, and newer technology comes in. And as we update our softwares and our plugins for WordPress, you always have the advantage of joining that. So do step in. We have the research, planning, building, and optimizing your SEO silo website money site starting in 3 days. Can't wait to see you on the inside. This is Russell Wright for the Network Empire team. Have a great evening.